mental health and mental well-being isn't a one-size-fit-all approach. I think that kind of gets lost in the conversations around awareness, advocacy, mental illness, substance use, or stress and well-being and management. It's important that organizations understand that they have to craft tailored mental health support for their employees or folks that work for them, consultants, whoever they may be in that space. And so if we're not looking and understanding what those policies look like within our organization, if we don't understand the lived experiences and the cultural dynamics that go into the space of mental health, if we don't understand what psychological safety means in the workplace, then we are doing our employees a disservice. So let's talk about it from a leadership perspective and what ways and strategies we can actually implement into our organizations to help support the well-being of our employees. Let's check it out. What's up, world? It's your boy Trey Retro _GT, also known as Dr. Gary Trey Taylor, licensed clinical social worker, and hope that you're having an amazing week. Listen, we are on the path to 1,000 subscribers, and we're trying to get that on the G.Taylor Show on YouTube. We're also available on any digital streaming platform that you might have, whether that's Apple Podcast, Spotify, you name it. We should be on it. And if not, please let me know so I can put the show on it. So wherever you want to listen to audio, wherever you want to listen to video, we got you covered on all different platforms. I appreciate you sharing. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure you share with 3 of your colleagues, friends, mama, auntie, uncle, any of those folks. If you resonated with the actual video, share it with them. Let them know. Share a little bit of the actual golden piece of content, right? Boom. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for everything. And hopefully you've been enjoying the episodes in the last few weeks, trying to crank them out as much as possible. Listen, came upon a topic today where I wrote a paper about this, and it's always kind of been near to my heart, referencing just as an actual worker and dealing with leadership in different areas of my career. This is from social work, mental health, academia, dealing with myself in private practice, all the way down to working in the bagel shop, in the hospital, and food service, and dealing with leadership in that aspect. It's understanding the power of mental well-being and mental health in the workplace. Now, one of the papers I wrote about in my research class talked about burnout. Everybody talks about burnout, right? And we all kind of discuss what burnout looks like, what it feels like. We throw around the terminology around burnout and what it may entail. Now, burnout, just on the brief definition of burnout, is a state of severe emotional, mental, and physical exhaustion caused by prolonged or unmanaged stress. And there are different stages, different types of burnout, and then various different fields that experience burnout. Now, burnout, typically, you hear a lot of that in the healthcare space, right? Whether that's healthcare, mental health care, you name it, those different areas where we are helping folks, right? Helping professionals experience a lot of burnout. But there are urban terminology that gets thrown out there as well that I think sometimes folks get confused about, or we use in the wrong way, and that's okay. We're not going to get into the weeds of that today, because that's for more episodes to talk about. But you can go into the whole concept of, burnout, compassion fatigue, more injury, stress, what I'm saying? All of that, right? And so, burnout is one component of well-being, mental health well-being, employee well-being in the workplace. And they talked about these different ways that could lead to, ways to deal with burnout that helps employee well-being. It helps employee, but helps social workers. And I thought to myself, I said, well, I think this can help all, right, disciplines, healthcare organizations, large organizations, tech organizations. Any organization that has employees, right? That's everybody, right? So we can all use a bit of mental health and well-being in the workplace. Mental Health America, I always use a stat. Mental Health America, a few years ago, put out a stat And Mental Health America does State of the Mental Health Report all the time. It's a good data statistics to look at to see where the state of mental health is really at in comparison to what we might be seeing. And they did an employee one, and the statistic stood out to me, and it always stands out to me, and I use it. But it stated that 63% of employees, report workplace related stress. 63%. So 63% of the workforce report workplace related stress. And I thought that was interesting because at the time when I was in private practice, I had a lot of folks on my caseload who were coming to me to do therapy because of workplace stress. And then I thought about my time in psychiatric inpatient or time in crisis where I would see folks who were stressed out having crisis episodes based upon their work, right? A couple clients come to mind, can't share, of course, but there are a couple clients that come to mind when I'm thinking about that. And this has been all of my career. Again, I started mental health in 2012, working as psychiatric inpatient. I'm moving all the way up to get my MSW degree to, doing private practice and now teaching. And I can imagine, right, as we look at the data and statistics, the mortality rates, and the increase in stress and mental health post-pandemic, how this has shifted, even down when we were working from home, telehealth aspects, but also working from home virtually, and how that has impacted the actual well-being of us, how that could impact. And then the next thing we know, we all of us had to go back into work, face-to-face, in person, and how that has shifted us socially, but also mentally. So when thinking about that and seeing those data sets happening in real time and then doing the research, I said, okay, well, some of the things that could be implemented to help prevent burnout, which can simultaneously also help address the mental well-being in the workplace, is understanding that all your employees are different. All your employees are different, and they come from different backgrounds, different lifestyles, different education. Things are different. So we can't attack the whole department with the same type of, framework in a sense. We can start with one framework, but also understanding that each individual may require different approaches, but also different needs and resources. And so it isn't just about employees going to EAP or going to therapy, but it's also down into the space of because the research talks about social workers in the realm of, social workers need autonomy and schedule, making sure they can make their own schedule. They need less micromanagement. They need opportunities for professional development, professional growth, whether that's, through, climbing the ladder or just opportunities to get more trained and skilled in their respective areas. All those type of opportunities. Then there's also the aspect of psychological safety. Can I be my authentic self here in the workplace, or do I have to be a shell of myself when I come in, which actually causes more stress and depletes more energy because I have to put on a facade to be here to work, right? And so I said, okay, well, these points are not just for social workers. I think this for every workplace organization where we can figure out how do I implement those strategies to help support my employees' well-being. And then the cultural dynamics, right? I know we don't want to talk about DEI and different things, but from an equity standpoint, how are we culturally, right, supporting individuals who are from different, ethnic and cultural backgrounds? Are we giving them space to be their authentic selves in our workplace settings? And if not, then how can we change that? How can we be intentional about that and making sure that they are supported and feel safe to be their, authentic selves, which goes into the psychological safety piece, right? And so that looks like, looking and doing an audit of your actual HR components, your HR policies, your mental well-being policies, your mental health policies, and also including, aspects of diversity, equity, inclusion. That is something that even though you may not have to practice it now and have to enforce it now, it still is a important, I would say, selling point for folks who want to get a job with your organization. And so if you are not intentionally, not just lip service and writing it on the application or the actual the job posting on Indeed or LinkedIn, you're not just lip service is saying it, but you're actually putting it into practice, and you can speak to the different programs, the policies, the interventions that you are utilizing to help support the mental well-being of your employees. And again, well-being and mental health, right, or substance use, stress management goes beyond the office, right? There are things that your employees walk in through the door with that they might not tell you on a daily basis because of, fear, stigma, or, fear of retribution, which I've heard a lot of times around fear of retribution, especially around cultural humility. But also, I need to keep this job, right? And so understanding, is this person even making a livable wage, right? To afford their basic necessities. That's a big thing right now with inflation happening. I know business is business and capitalism is capitalism, but are your employees making a livable wage? Because that's going to matter in how that person shows up on a daily basis and what their well-being looks like, right? So we start thinking about, the different social determinants of health, social determinants of well-being, mental health and mental well-being, and understanding that, these things impact socially where people live, they grow up, they interact with socially, those things impact them on a daily basis. And then take into consideration cultural ethnic groups and minorities who are disproportionately affected by these different socioeconomic issues, right? That spills over into the work that we do on a daily basis. So you having to, as an organization, as a manager, have to take that into consideration. You're not just managing and making sure that the bottom line is being met, but you're managing people. And these are people, not robots, right? And so you just can't, make a tweak and tighten up a bolt and do something and this machine will work better. That's not the case. You're dealing with human people, human capital with real feelings, real thoughts, real stressors, right? And with different capacities on how to manage their well-being and stress management, which could also ultimately mean that how they manage potential burnout in your organization or group. So these are some different strategies, some different thoughts that you should be thinking about from an HR perspective. Not only from an HR perspective, but from a management and leadership perspective. And in understanding the totality between middle management, leadership, HR, and how they can work together to foster a healthy work environment. Listen, I'm Dr. Gary Trey Taylor. I hope that this video was beneficial to you, was helpful to you. And if you need assistance or you need more follow-up, please reach out. And I do those trainings, those workshops, consulting efforts around employee well-being, mental health, mental wealth, well-being, things that nature, and how we can help support the well-being of employees in the workplace. I am a licensed clinical social worker, and also I have my doctorate in social work, and my research is in a lot of mental health related components. So reach out and let me know what you think about it. All right. If you got questions, let's set up a call so we can talk about it. All right. Like, share, subscribe to the podcast, the G.Taylor Show on your digital streaming platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, but also most importantly, YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, share with 3 of your colleagues, friends, families, aunties, uncles, brothers, sisters, cousins, everybody. Tell somebody if you like it and you rock with the episode. All right. Y'all have a great week. We'll talk soon and take care. Peace.